Forks to Grand Falls, to Bald Mountain, to Parlin Pond, Greenville, Rockwood, and Bingham. I've also worked as a contractor for the ATC on the Appalachian Trail, ferrying over 6,000 hikers in the last 3 years. I hope that you would consider me an expert in my field. One thing that all these years has revealed to me is that people come to Maine to get away from the modern industrial world, to escape, if only for a few hours or days, from the superhighways of traffic, the madness of work and schedules, tall steel and concrete structures, and never-ending noise and bright lights. Where else can you travel only a few hours to get complete solitude and peace from those things? In all my interactions with thousands upon thousands of guests, the comments remain the same. Wow, this is amazing. Or, this is such a beautiful place. Or, it's so quiet here. Or, this is unspoiled wilderness. Or, such an incredible getaway. There has never been anyone that said, looks like a great place for a power line. Or these ridges should have some wind towers. Or I'd like to see some blinking red lights over that mountain. Or we need some big red balls hanging over this awesome gorge. Most of our critical assets in this region for tourism are our mountains and waterways. This is hallowed ground. It's absolutely critical that we keep these places intact, particularly in these remote towns or villages that rely on it for their livelihood. The PUC's job is to determine if there is public need for this project. I'm here to give you a resounding no to that question. To answer anything other than that ignores all the facts surrounding this project. Maine does not need this, and neither does Massachusetts. They have plenty of their own natural resources they could exploit, but they choose not to. There is no price that we can put on Maine's most critical natural resources that can give us our livelihood and quality of place. How can we say to our guests, this is a wild and scenic stretch of river, but ignore this part? Or this is a national scenic byway, but not over here. Or let's ride to the top of Coburn Mountain for a view of some amazing mountains and lakes, but don't look over here. I guarantee the guests' comments will be, hey, what's that about down there? Or, too bad they had to put that there. Or, what's up with that power line? Nobody can know for certain what the long-term negative impacts, economic impacts would be, but I can tell you that this would be at least one nail in the coffin to our tourism industry. Our large working forest has almost been worked to death. And if you add the transmission line to fragment that forest even more, add a bunch of grid-scale wind farms to that, our way of life as a tourist attraction will be buried in the ground. Our brook trout habitat will be lost, our deer yards shrunk away to nothing, and our view sheds destroyed. We simply cannot, in good conscience, sacrifice these things for a few short-term jobs or money for a bike trail, like we need more trails up here. Everybody in this state, every water body in this state belongs to the people of this state. And the view shed in this state belongs to everyone. Common sense needs to prevail here. We don't need this. Remember, this is vacation land, the way life should be. Thank you. This is my wife's.
Oh, great. Okay, good.
This is my wife's.
Okay, thank you. Edward Beauchamp.
First, I'd like to thank you for being here and for allowing me to speak. My name is Edward Beauchamp. I've been a master guide for over 30 years and a whitewater guide for well over 30 years as well. Owned a whitewater outfitters, which is right across the street here, for 24 years, and are very familiar with not only the area but the business itself. I still own lodging north of here. I'm still a business owner in the area. When I first came up here as a child, I was fortunate enough that my family and extended family has camps up here on Pleasant Pond. And I spent every summer up here as a child and into my teenage years, and decided that this place was so special and so beautiful that this is where I want to live. I have lived here for well over, and I've been coming to the area well over 50 years, raised my children here. And if you were to ask them, there is no better place to raise a child as it stands now. A lot of what I wanted to say has already been said by others, so I don't really need to go there. I just keep this on a personal note, and that I'm awful afraid that if you allow this door to be opened with this project, that nobody knows where it's gonna go. And you're just opening one door and others are gonna follow, and it's gonna change the entire nature of this area and change the lives of all the people who live here and the reasons they live here. And I don't wanna see that happen. I don't wanna see it happen for my kids, for their kids, for anybody else that lives here, and for anything in the foreseeable future. This place is too special and too nice and too beautiful to see this type of change. And I hope you would vote accordingly and take that all into consideration. I think you're getting the gist of how most people in the area feel. You should take that to heart. I know I do.
Heather Sylvester.
My name is Heather Sylvester. My husband, Tom, and our 13-year-old son live right on Lake Moxie here in the Forks Plantation. My husband has lived here his entire 46 years, and I have had the pleasure of calling the Forks my home for 19 years. I grew up in southern Maine. I grew up in the hustle and bustle just outside of Sanford in Lebanon, and I know exactly why I live here. I live here for the peace and the solitude of the area. The view from my home looks over Lake Moxie to Mosquito and Moxie Bald Mountains, and it's amazingly breathtaking and unlike anything else I have ever seen, even in my travels across the country in my earlier years. As the sun rises each morning, I am greeted with vivid colors as they streak across the sky in the glass-like lake. It is this view and many others that drew me to move north while my husband and I were still dating. And they are what draws others to come and visit and recreate our area year-round. These power lines will actually run directly behind my home. And when I exit my front door and look to my right, I will see them and I will hear them. And right now, I get to see ospreys. We have an osprey nest on the power lines directly behind my house. They live there, breed there during the summer, and this year hatched 3 osprey offspring. And I got to see those babies grow and fly and hunt, come down over the top of my house and dive onto the lake and take fish out of the lake. My bedroom is located on the back side of my house, facing where those power lines are. I will no longer hear Moxie Stream. I will hear the hum and the drum of the power lines instead. I am an avid outdoors woman, and I participate in many outdoor activities, including snowshoeing, snowmobiling, running, hiking, biking, kayaking, whitewater rafting, hunting, and fishing. I spend a lot of my time exploring new areas looking for the elusive white-tailed deer during the hunting season, or tracking coyotes or turkeys with my 13-year-old son. Many of the areas that I explore are along these proposed corridor routes, and I would hate to see these areas that are so full of wildlife and opportunities for hunters and fishermen to be destroyed in the name of bringing electricity to Massachusetts. To tear down acres and acres of wildland, destroying wildland habitat and crossing trout streams in the name of bringing power to another state, and never have it benefit those of us living along it is devastatingly tragic. why anybody would support the destruction of deer habitats and possible contamination of trout streams that we have worked so hard and diligently to preserve over the years, and to ruin the pristine beauty of the Kennebec River Gorge with power lines draping across it with big orange balls calling attention to them, is beyond my realm of thinking and even understanding. For many years, our deer herds were plagued by rough winters and the inability to thrive. In the past couple of years, through the work of reestablishment of deer yards and feeding programs, the deer population is finally on the rise, and we have actually, for the second year, gotten doe tags. Parts of this corridor will plow straight through some of those deer yards that have helped the deer thrive and grow these past years. I am also a member of the West Forks Volunteer Fire Department and have been for 4 years. We are an all-volunteer department with just 3 paid positions: the chief, the assistant chief, and the treasurer. The rest of us on that department volunteer to help when the tones go off. We are a very small department, right now of only 12 to 14 members and only 6 corps. Our numbers have dwindled over the years as the population ages, and we have a hard time getting younger recruits into our department. We respond to a wide variety of calls for both fire and rescue. We are a Maine EMS licensed non-transport rescue permitted to the advanced EMT level. A large number of us on the department work full-time jobs out of the area and aren't always around to respond to calls. As a member of such a small volunteer fire department, I am concerned that with the large number of workers this will bring in, the heavy equipment they will be bringing, and the machinery and the construction of the power lines, that this will bring a large risk of potential medical, fire, or trauma calls that may tax our small community and volunteer fire department. And not only our department, but other departments like Jackson and Bingham, and all the other volunteer departments that go all the way down this 201 corridor along the power line route. With the closest hospital to this area 1 hour away from our fire department and even longer in the outlying areas. If we're out by Grand Falls, you're 2 hours from the closest hospital. Your closest trauma centers are Eastern Maine Medical Center, Central Maine Medical Center, and Maine Medical Center. That's a long ways from here. If we have a major trauma call, you're getting life flighted. And if nobody has ever dealt with creating a life flight landing zone before, you need to go to a life flight training or talk to life flight, because setting up a landing zone, coordinating that, getting the patient out to where that landing zone is, and making sure they're stabilized before they can be transported is a big ordeal and can sometimes take 1 to 2 hours to even get them to the landing zone, depending on where they are. As an AEMT, it worries me that we may not be able to get the care to these sites in a timely manner to be able to administer the much needed and necessary care that these patients may need. And what happens to those residents in our town who pay our department a subsidy to provide coverage? What happens to them when we're out on a call to help with this power line? They're not paying us a subsidy to be out there helping them. We are going out there to help them, and we are no longer in the coverage area to be able to help those who may need it, who are actually paying us subsidies each year to provide that service to them. I am not only worried about getting that much needed care out to the workers, but I am extremely worried about those that I have sworn to help provide protection to as a member of the department and also as an employee at the local ambulance companies. I hope that tonight that you not only take the environmental impact that this project will have in our beautiful wilderness area, but also the implications it could have on our local resources for first responders and fire that are already spread thin, and how it would affect the small communities they service. and my husband and I say no to NECEC.
That was the last name on the list. Does anyone else want to testify?
I do, I signed the wrong list.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Come on up.
Thank you for letting me talk. My name is Beverly Dewey. I live in Jackman. I was born and raised in Jackman. And I have worked, I've been jack of all trades. I've worked in the woods, I've worked in town, I've worked in real estate. And from my understanding of what this project is going to do to my area, it is devastating. It is gonna kill us economically. We depend on tourism. Logging is not the same industry it was. For years, logging was the place to be to make a decent wage. I worked in a man's world as a scaler for 13 or 14 years to make enough money to raise my son. Now we depend on tourism. And the tourists that come here are not coming to see this monstrosity they propose to build. They are coming for what I live for, to be able to get up in the morning, walk outside the door, breathe the air, and listen to the sound of nature. I don't know how many people in this room have experienced no man-made sounds for minutes at a time, but it helps keep me sane. And if everybody, and the people that don't even realize they need it, could get out into these woods, onto these waters, walk these trails, we would have a much healthier society than what we have now. What this out-of-country company proposes to do is to destroy a way of life, a beautiful, not to be ever replaced landscape. They are going to destroy fish, birds, wildlife, and human beings. And what it comes down to is the God Almighty dollar. And there is no dollar amount that they could throw at me personally that would make me say, bring it on. I say, get rid of it, do it now, because what they are up to is clearly not what they are telling you, what they're telling me. I sat in on their town meeting in Jackman. What they showed us for graphs at that meeting, what they talked about at that meeting was not the same presentation they brought to our town selectmen that they met with directly after the public meeting. They are lying to us. They don't care about us. All they care about is putting another buck in their investors' pockets. It doesn't matter who and or what they destroy, as long as they can say to their investors, here you go, boys, here's another buck, look, you got it. Not on our lives. There is no price, and please do not let them tell you different. They are here to destroy a beautiful section of Maine, and they are destroying towns, communities, people that love this area with nothing gained for any of us in the state of Maine or Massachusetts, because of the number of people that come to this corner of the state. And what are they coming for? They're coming for quiet, they're coming to play on our waters, and they are bringing money. You are destroying, would be allowing them to destroy our economy, these small towns that depend on tourism. And please don't let that happen. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else?
I didn't sign up.
Come on up.
This will be short and sweet. Thanks for coming. I'm Terry Hegarty from Jackman. And, you know, we got enough wind turbines. I think it's a hoax, my own opinion. And this corridor, when it goes through, that's a spinal cord for other wind. I just think that should be part of the no argument. I'm against the wind, in other words,
I just want to add one little thing here with Corey. I defy anybody in there to spend as much time in the woods as he does.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear
I
what you
defy anybody in there to spend as much time in the woods as this man has right here. He's short on speech, but long on work.
Thank you.
And can I mention what you do for work? He cuts the property lines. He cuts the property lines for about every single company around here. So
Thank you.
all right.
It looks like we're done. I want to thank everybody for coming out, for sharing your thoughts and experiences and preferences and concerns with us. I really appreciate it. As I said before, there will be a transcript made. It will be available. Debating here. I'm going to give you my direct phone line. If you need to be in touch about what's going on with the transcript or how to get access to it, you can call me. My direct line is 287-1573. And my name again is Chris Simpson. And I want to thank you all very much. This public witness hearing is adjourned. Thank you.
After going on. See you tomorrow? Yeah.